do the thumbnail. Give me 1 second.
How long is our?
1 hour.
Okay.
Just name it. Just rename it Dad Academy. But I didn't name YouTube, but that's just the Rumble or Facebook.
It's not loading my image. Let me try to send it to you, because I actually cannot remake it right now.
Okay.
You know our business number?
No. I was gonna send it to an email. Dang, why is it not letting me do that?
Email's good.
Let me try one more time.
Did it need these plugins?
Oh my God, it's not doing it. All right, let me try to. I don't know if it's gonna send it to the email. Look, let me show you. I've never had this happen to me before either. But I'm trying to send it to my email so I can put the thumbnail up for you guys. So I have. These are all the girls coming out.
It's a lot.
Cannot load images. I don't know why it's not, and it has no video.
It's the.
The
It's, here, let me. I'll have you send it to this. You can email it to them.
well, the thing is, if I can't even email it to me,
Oh, then
is it gonna let me email it to you?
send it to this number right here. Give it a
Let me text it. Let me text it to you.
Well, text it to a different number.
Let me just see if it comes to you. I want to know. I'm trying to work out my.
You're 909, right?
Yeah.
Never mind. Send it here. Give me 1 second to pull it up.
Oh, best friend.
Doesn't make any sense. I got that plugged into my phone. I want to even see if it goes through. Look. I'm pressing it and it doesn't give me even an option to
For text?
Look. Why is it won't let me press it?
Is your phone like maxed out on memory?
Oh.
Okay, bingo.
Alright, let me try this. This is annoying. Maybe I have this problem. So we're like right here too. Probably that's what it is.
That makes sense.
Just trying to figure out some technical difficulties.
I completely understand. I completely understand.
Keep you company.
I'm just pulling up all my, making sure I got all my stats and all that kind of stuff together.
I'm excited. This is gonna be a good one.
Well, there won't be any quiet time, that's for sure, because I talk for a living, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a pastor too?
I am.
Okay.
I am, and I coach high school sports for a local high school down in South Orange County in San Juan Capistrano.
Okay.
And so I'm still involved with a lot of kids, and yeah, I love it. The kids are grown, and so yeah, it's cool.
My brother's a pastor too.
Is he really?
Mm-hmm.
In Florida?
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. Not so fun to grow up with, but
Sometimes.
but I love him and loved everything he taught me. So
Yeah. How long have you been out here?
6 years this year.
What brought you guys to California?
We're doing production, so there's a lot more production out here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, than Florida.
So you guys just come to do to help Jacob with this, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. And then we have another podcast we do their production
living out here, yeah, you definitely think about that. Where I live, I'm only 10 minutes still
Yeah.
away from the beach.
I mean, Florida has the best beaches, though.
No,
Yes.
not even
You
close.
can't even get in the water out here. Yeah, you can't even get in the water out here. That's not what
I've been talking to my
This is my daughter.
about you. Wondering if you do, you ever think about me like I spend my thoughts on you. I certainly never been with somebody like you. So I've got the image of your smile lines forever etched right behind my eyes. I'm carefully calculated, but God, it's frustrating.
So these are the kind of cool stuff, you know, when you're a dad that you get to brag out.
Yes. I love it. She sounds amazing. I have to follow her on Spotify.
It's not that complicated, but God, it's frustrating. You make me feel this way. You make me feel this way. So what am I supposed to do about it?
Does she always sing?
So what am I
So she lives in Brooklyn now,
Oh. Wow,
and
she's
so she's
so
trying to make it happen, you know.
yeah. Good for her.
Tell me what am I supposed to do
How old is she?
about it?
She's the same age as me.
I can't force a feeling
Or
for
younger.
you.
She is 27.
Okay.
No, I can't make you
Yeah.
want
Same
me
generation.
the way I want you to. You don't come by no more like you used to.
I always wanted to live in New
Baby
York.
got a lot of
What's that?
I've always wanted to live in New York.
She has too, until now that she's living it there. She's not so sure that it's a tough place to live.
You have to hustle, like.
Yes, you do.
Here is one thing, but New York is like they actually live 24/7, like hustle.
Yes, you do.
I like it, but it's different.
Now, how did you guys get connected with Jacob?
One of our friends came on his podcast and she brought us
does look beautiful.
Yeah, it looks really nice. I haven't stopped to get out, but I drive by every time I go to work. So I see people running, and I'm like, okay, it looks very nice. And the boats out there, the little canoes.
But like when I was in college, we would
Mic check, mic check.
I got you.
All right, we're good. Yep. YouTube. And we are live. You can catch us on YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, Kick, and Facebook. Do not forget to like and subscribe, and we'll be right back with you, Howlers. We'll be right back. The camera's kind of weird. I saw that too. I don't want them to see me. They can see this part of it, but I don't want them to see this. Howls over Baaz. I'm Jacob Casas, and today we have a very special guest. Jeff, I'm going to have you introduce yourself to our audience. Tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do.
What's up, Jacob? Thanks for having me on. I love getting to do this. Love getting to connect with you over this. We first connected. You've already had Camp Agape on, right? I've been friends with your cousin.
My uncle.
Your uncle.
Yeah, my uncle.
Uncle John, man. We've been friends for more than 20 years and
I didn't even know
been
that.
involved with Camp Agape. Got a great John story for you, actually.
Before we start, let's do a prayer. You say you want to do a prayer?
Yeah, man.
We're going to pray on air right now. Let's go.
Hey, the reason why we pray is there's a prayer is just simply a conversation that we have with God, right? And so we want him to kind of be included in this conversation. And if our hearts and our minds are right, there's going to be some kind of influence that happens in our conversation, right? Sometimes musicians find a groove, right? Conversations have a rhythm to those kind of things. And when we invite God into that process, then what begins to happen is he begins to direct the conversation so that it actually meets the needs and answers the question and speak to the audience that we have today, along with just our discussion and things that we're going to learn from one another through having this conversation. So, God, we thank you for being here. We thank you for knowing our situations and our circumstances. And we just give you this time. We want to kind of, wherever it's possible, be out of the way so that what really needs to be said, what really is going to be helpful, whatever is going to be beneficial, whatever is going to be an encouragement to our audience, and even as Jacob and I share this conversation, that we expect that it will bring a benefit and a value to our life. So we just ask you to do that today in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah. So I've been a pastor here in South Orange County. Church is in Laguna Niguel, and I've been there almost like 25 years, essentially, the same church. We're kind of like Apple iOS systems, though, right? We just change all the time, right? So what we were in 2000 is not the same thing that we are now, and there's been kind of shifts and things that have happened over those years. But during that time, I really raised my kids. Prior to that, I was a youth pastor in Nashville, and the reason why I got connected with Camp Agape was for more than 10 years, I ran camps, like church camps for kids and stuff like that. So that's the experience that I brought and still love. I kind of joke around that I got demoted to senior pastor from youth ministry because I love students. Yeah. And I love the promise and the potential and getting to help shape lives and be a mentor and to come alongside parents and encourage them. And it was funny when I didn't have kids and when I was a youth pastor, everybody considered me kind of a kind of an expert on kids, but I didn't have any, right? It wasn't until you started raising them, and I actually waited to create this thing called Dad Academy until I made sure that my kids were semi-functional adults in their young adulthood, right? That didn't require too much therapy. But I just wanted to be able to help dads pass along some of the things that I've learned from watching families, from being engaged with so many families in so many different kinds of situations. My activities, involvement with adolescents. My background is I'm a published researcher on adolescent spiritual development. And so, and then just the things that I learned through the School of Hard Knocks of being a dad, and what are some of the things that we did. But I also have my master's degree is in strategic leadership, and so I used to consult businesses and churches and organizations, especially on the issue of like culture and mission alignment, values, right? Because what we say we value and what we measure aren't always in sync. And when those two things are not really lined up together, that's where you start to have conflict about not meeting goals, about not achieving the mission or accomplishing the task that the mission or the organization or the business or even the leader, the individual leader, wanted to accomplish. So I had a whole strategy where I would help them walk through some processes, and I thought, man, if I could just do this with dads, because I really think that when a man knows what's expected of him and he has a plan to accomplish it, then he feels like he can be successful. And yet, like being a dad's the only thing that we do in our life that where we don't have a plan, right? Your wife sends you to the grocery store, you got a plan, right? You go to the gym, you have a plan, right? You're trying to meet some kind of financial goals, or probably when you walk into the office, you have a to-do list.
Yeah.
But being a dad's the only thing we do without a plan. So I wanted to help guys find a tool to where they can be confident in this really important and significant responsibility we have of shaping lives.
You know what's funny is we talk about fatherhood. I've had this podcast for about 2.5 years. We've been talking about fatherhood since the beginning. So I have
Why is that?
I'm a dad,
Right.
and a lot of my friends are dads, and we've seen a lot of dads that didn't care. Like from when we were growing up, my dad was there. He was on drugs at the time and stuff like that. But during the time I was a child, a lot of dads were not there. So when I feel like a lot of my friends became dads, we all wanted to be the best dad, because we were like, nah. We're not gonna be the dads our dad were.
Right.
So we want to be better dads. And my friends are really close to their kids because I think we all wanted to share the same thing. So I think that Dad Academy, when I heard about it, I was like, I really wanted to hear your perspective on that, because I think being a dad is the most important thing. Because you hear the statistics on moms and dads and how dads shape their children differently. And I think dads are very important because we're the ones that punish them. We're the ones that guide them.
Yeah.
And obviously God's our father. So we, at the end of the day, like I feel like we have a lot of say in how things are done, and we have to do things right. We have a job to do. That's really what it comes down to. We have a job to do no matter what. Even if we don't want to do it because you feel bad or you feel a certain way, you have to line up with that job, because at the end of the day, even when you punish your kids feel safe. They feel different with you because you're scolding them the way you should. And I feel like that's how it's been with my kids. When I punish them, as soon as I'm done, they want to come and hug me, and they want to just lay next to me. And I'm like, because I'm not punishing them in anger.
Yeah, they want the relationship to be together. But one of the other things we talk about specifically in Dad Academy, right? Let me kind of break down kind of the male culture of shaping lives, right? When you turn at the turn of the century, really, there was no separation between dad and boss when you're a kid growing up on the farm, right? You get up and you learn all these skills because you're living side by side with your with your father, right? Working, whatever his trade was, that was a trade that you developed. And then when the world wars started to happen, we needed to find a tool that would help develop courage and men and who would be able to do things that didn't come natural to them. And so, essentially there was that old model of like break them down, build them up, break them down so that we can build them up the way that we think that they should be. And like as a coach, I still coach high level high school athletes down in South Orange County. And I got kids that are in various levels of the major leagues. I've got kids who are D1 basketball players. And, we've started to see a shift that started to take place. Back in the old days, coaching was like break you down, right? We got hollered at for anything. But we started to see something, and you'll find this in Dad Academy. It's actually one of the principles, is it's not only what is the behavior that we want to correct, but what is the behavior that we want to complement? Because also what you complement is what's going to get repeated, right? I can tell you how many times in college basketball practice, the whole practice stopped because one of us did something wrong, right? And we wanted to, and he used that example to make sure that nobody else did that, right? Well, when do we ever stop practice to tell somebody, bro, that thing that you just did right there, that was excellent. We want you to do it like that every time. I get complimented as a man, I'm going to repeat that behavior all the time. As a young lady, when dad sees them, when he calls out and speaks to their purpose and to their potential, seeing them doing the right things, we start to see that happen. So it's not just only you use the word punishment. What we're really talking about is discipline, right? The shaping of somebody.
I completely agree.
But one of the challenges of being a parent today is what I would call the outsourcing of parenting, right? Because all of you guys that want to be good dads, right? So what we do is we get our kids involved in everything, right? They got dance classes, piano lessons, drama class, soccer, baseball, basketball. I mean, we got kids with $300 bats, who are 10 years old, right? Because we want our kids not to, we want to make it as to know that we're involved with this with them. But what's happening then is we're also, without realizing, outsourcing our parenting to the coach, to the teacher, to the instructor, because they're spending more time with the kids than we are.
Yeah, that's true.
And so how can we, as dads, kind of pull back away from some of the pressure? Because our job is not really to make happy kids, because happiness is based on happenings.
Say that one more time.
That
On that camera right there. I like that.
that happiness is based on happenings, right? On our situation. And we know that through life, there are ups and downs. The biggest thing that kids need to be able to realize is that they can do more than they actually think that they can. That we want them to be able to develop some resilience. We want them to be able to live and attack life with some confidence and some courage. That's why the name of the book is Raising Courageous, Capable, Confident Kids, because those are the three things that a dad does. Now, that's a contrast to the three things that a mom does, which is bring compassion and cooperation and comfort, right? Mom brings comfort, right? Kids come to them for nurturing. They bring compassion, an awareness of other people and how their behavior affects the other people in the organization or in the family or in the neighborhood. And they bring cooperation, the idea of learning to work together. But kids learn from dad how to be courageous, how to take risks.
Can you tell the audience what does courageous mean for what you're talking about?
Well, I define courageous is how trust responds to risk. Courage is how trust responds to risk. As an athlete, as a coach, right, we say that you're only ready for the moment because you've prepared for the moment, right? And so what dad does is he helps his children navigate some challenges so that they develop some courage, that they don't live bound by fear or easily intimidated or bound by anxiety. But if they can trust dad and they can trust the information that they have, then they'll be able to take a risk. The classic picture for me of courage, how a dad shapes courage, is the idea of the dad in the pool holding his arms out, right? And the kid standing on the edge asking him to jump, right?
Yeah,
He
I
might
like
be,
that.
He might be good with the floaties, right? He might be good where he can touch,
Yeah.
but dad's asking him, hey, I need you to take the next step. And he's only going to do it if he can trust, right, that I'm going to catch him.
Yeah.
And after a while, you catch him and you dip him, you catch him. How long does it really take then from it going from dad catching him to them just flying off the end, right? Knowing that they can do that. I think that that's what dad does. And the best part about the word courage, as we shape that in the lives of our kids, is the word courage comes from the Latin, the French word core, C-O-R, where we get the word core, C-O-R-E.
Yeah.
And that really means heart. So courage comes from the heart. It comes from the shaping of one's heart. And I think dad does that a lot by helping them understand that there's going to be challenging things. Bethany Hamilton, no relation, but she's the one-armed surfer, right? Have you heard?
Oh, yeah.
Right? And she said, courage is not being afraid. Courage is stepping out even when you're afraid, right? Because once you begin to develop that habit, in the Christian world, we would call that faith, right? Stepping out into things.
Yeah.
But it's really about learning how to be driven by your heart, because we're not just talking about the things that you accomplish. Courage means that I can face some adversity, not just in my life, but I can face some challenges that maybe we're having relationally, right? I know that dad is there for me. I know that dad will help me navigate this, right? Because how many things take courage? Starting a business takes courage. Getting married takes courage, right? Living with a roommate in college that you don't like and navigating conflict takes courage. And so they learn to trust themselves after they've learned to trust dad, and they can live from the heart. And I think that that's really what courage is.
I like that.
Yeah.
Even Charlie Kirk said, "I want to be known for courage for my faith."
Yeah.
I like that a
Right.
lot.
It's because it's in your heart.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the place that motivates us.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's the true you is what really is inside. And our job as dads is to help cultivate that. Is to help our kids develop that sense of self and the confidence in who they are, right? So that they can live with the ability to go after life, to pursue the dreams and the visions that God has placed in their lives. And it's not always easy. I mean, my daughter is check her out on Spotify, guys. Dope. Neo soul artist Jordan Hamilton, Jordanne, Jordan Hamilton, and she's living in Brooklyn right now, trying to make it as an artist. She's got 3 different jobs. She's stressed on whether she can cover rent, but she's attacking life. She's pursuing her dreams, right? It doesn't mean that it's easy. It doesn't mean that it just automatically happens, but she's the most courageous person that I know. She's courageous right now because she's coming up on a very significant milestone, because during COVID, they found that she had a brain tumor. And she had a brain tumor removed during COVID.
Wow.
And later in October, first week of October, she will get to pass her 5-year cancer-free.
Congratulations to that. Yeah.
Right? So just her navigating life.
How was that as a father?
Well, that's
that?
a whole nother story that is filled with probably more failures than bad, and it's really her story to be able to tell. But and I know it would be good, but I want to honor her by not
Yeah, I
going
understand.
into going into to some of that, because that's her journey, right? That's not my story. To as a dad, I tell it because I'm proud of her, right?
Yeah.
She's pursuing, but I'm just as proud of my 29-year-old son right now because he moved back home with me, he and his wife, and you're like, why would you be proud of that? Well, he had been 6 years as a youth pastor in Santa Cruz, and he still wants to do church work. He still wants to maybe be a missionary and go overseas somewhere. What he doesn't want to do is be reliant on donations. He wanted to develop a career that allows him to serve people and create some opportunities for residual income that would support him to do what he really wants to do. So he's getting a Series 7. He's training as a financial planner. He's on the grind right now for the last 6 weeks, going through all of his classes, trying to develop network. It takes courage to leave a nice, safe, secure job that he had, a great little house, right? Building his own little life,
Yeah.
bringing his wife
I
to come live
understand
with
that.
his in-laws, right? That wasn't a default choice. That was a courageous choice because he's pursuing the things that are in his heart. And as a dad, even though this is the hardest season, one of the hardest seasons I've seen either of my kids go through, because even when your kids are adults, you're still dad. You're still mom. And I am more proud of them right now at 27 and 29, my daughter-in-law, 25. I'm so proud of them because they're not afraid to go after life. They are courageous, courageous people.
I was going to ask you, what's your favorite part of being a dad? Your favorite part?
Oh, bro. Well, the reward of all the work that you put in when they're little is now.
I love that.
Because we
I
dig,
think a lot of people don't know that part though.
we dig hanging. We like we are our people. We're each other's people. And the one thing that I can't wait to be is a grandfather one day. The reason why I want to do it is that, man, I want to make a impact and come alongside and support my children and the way that they shape their lives. There was something profound actually that my dad said. My dad's been gone 4 years now. I actually just lost my mom.
Sorry to hear that.
It's okay, man. When somebody's been sick for a long time, sometimes it's merciful of God to finally receive them home, right, and to give them their reward. So, so somebody came to my dad and said, "Hey, man, you must be so proud. Look at your kids. They all serve God and love God." I have a brother who's 18 months younger than me. Unbelievable story of his family. I have a sister who's 6 years younger than me. Great family. Her and her husband. They live on the East Coast. And somebody said, "You must be so proud. Look at who they've become and how much they love God." And my dad said, "Well, yeah, I'm proud, but that's what I expected because that's how I raised them." He said, "The thing I'm proud of is that they are raising their kids the same way. Now we're graduating to legacy,
Yeah.
right? I've done my job as a dad. Grandpa means I get to have a legacy, right? What I'm doing right now and encouraging other dads, right, is, man, it's about legacy. It's about how you want to be remembered."
I think that you even doing this, I think that you understand how important dads are.
Oh, it's a number. Listen, it's a number one issue, not only in the U.S. but around the world. I have the opportunity to travel probably every other year. There's a great ministry in Nairobi, Kenya. That's one of the missionaries that we support, and they have a really cool thing where they train moms and to sew and build up their skills, and eventually it becomes kind of a business that supports them. Why do they need to do that? Because dads are gone. I mean, 25% of people in the U.S. have grown up without a dad in their home. 25%. And it's even higher in other places in the country. Do you know that that the U.S. has the largest and the highest percentage, the largest number of, and the highest percentage of single-parent homes of anywhere in the world?
I didn't know that. I feel like it's getting worse and worse as time goes by too.
And because of Camp Agape, we're also aware that incarceration, right, is a huge issue that relates to fatherlessness. You know, you've met Devin and Albert, you know, and all those guys, right? Like, think about being a dad for them. All they knew was gang culture.
Mhm.
How do you like reshape and reframe your mindset to get out of the to break the cycle of that incarceration, which is a mindset as well, to
Yeah.
be able to develop some healthy skills when you're the first one. You've never seen it before. So we got to help guys understand that there's tools out there, but more important than tools is the relationship. Like we should dig into the book.
I actually want to get into that. So, if you were to talk about a relationship with your child, can you go down the steps of how you think that should be?
Well, first of all, you have to make it a priority. And it may not be, I'm not talking about how much time that you spend, but I am talking about a rhythm and a routine to our life that dad is present, right? When dad comes home, that he's present. One of the best tools that Jamie and I put into practice was we took an early class on parenting when we were pregnant. And it helped us set some boundaries. When you're bringing home a newborn, you don't know what to do, right? But one of the things that they taught us was they called it couch time. And it was that when dad comes home from work, the first 15 minutes, mom and dad sit down on the couch to make a connection. And they don't allow the kids to interrupt, right? There's a polite way to do that.
Yeah.
But eventually, that routine, the kids start to feel more secure because they believe in the connection that mom and dad are sharing. They
That's
know
true.
that they're secure because that relationship is secure. So the best thing a dad can do, the first best thing he can do for his kids in developing a relationship with his kids is to love his wife well. Because when he loves his wife well, right, then they feel secure in the relationship. When they see how he loves her, when they see how he respects her and treats her, right, when they feel secure in that relationship, that mom and dad listen to each other, that mom and dad communicate, doesn't mean that it's conflict-free, but they even get their first exposure to what conflict resolution looks like at home.
And I feel like I've seen that it does something different to the son and the daughter. I have a son and a daughter.
Right.
You know.
Yep.
He's actually baptized my kids. Even my uncle baptized them, so I appreciate that.
That was dope.
I loved it so much. It was dope. I loved it. But the thing is like I see now because I've been divorced for a little over 4 years, and I see the difference now in when you get older, you start seeing things differently.
Yep.
You see the difference of how it affects your daughter and your son differently.
Yep.
You know, and I think you need to be very. I think you need to be transparent with them, but at the same time, you need to be honest too with yourself because you always want to lie, like, oh, it was her, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
they're gonna think it's her the whole time. So I just don't say that.
Well,
I've never said that.
How much even more challenging is it when you live in when mom and dad are not living together, or when we're in step situations in blended families?
Yeah,
Like those principles still apply.
yeah,
Right. And so that was the best example is my brother, and the way that he's navigated. He didn't get married to Heather until much later in life, in their 40s. And with Heather came an 18-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And then later, the following year, they added another baby, right?
Oh wow.
And so he wasn't those kids' dads. He wasn't the girls' dads. Their dad was still around, right? And so
He was present. At least he was.
he had to
present.
find a way, right, to be present. And so they would never call him dad, but they would call him Brad, the rad dad, right? Because he
cool
just,
dad. He was the cool dad.
they felt safe
Yeah,
with
yeah.
him,
Oh, that's good.
right? And then the little boys who didn't have a dad, their dad died, he has stepped right in to be dad. So the principle is still the same.
So we have a lot of dating and relationship podcasts, and I actually want to get your perspective on this. This is actually a really good thing to talk about right now. So on not just ours, but all kinds of dating and relationship podcasts, they talk about how dads don't want, or they don't think they should enter a relationship where they have, or another woman has a bunch of kids, or different kids from different parents. And how should a man, first off, how would I explain this? How would a man enter that relationship? And if he does decide to enter that relationship, how should he be with those kids?
Well, all
Right.
that depends on his relationship with the mom,
Yeah.
right? Because like in my brother situation, right, the two girls didn't need a dad.
Mm.
They already had one. In fact, they were splitting time, right, living at these other homes. So he just wanted to be their cheerleader, right? When they came to his house, he wanted it to be peaceful for them.
Okay.
He wanted it to be a safe place for them, and that kind of thing, right, allowed them to draw near to him at their pace because they saw the way that he treated their mom.
And I like that because my stepdad was kind of like that, where he taught me to fish, he taught me to ride a bike,
Right.
he taught me all these things, and but he was just like this.
Yep.
Like I'll show you this, I'll show you that, and he made us just love him in a different way.
And,
know?
and the hardest part is mom having to trust, right? Because the greatest force on the earth is a single mom. Because if it applies to their kids, they will move heaven and earth to make sure that the kids have what they need, right? And like their experience, obviously, tells them that men fail.
Yeah.
So even though they might love this guy, she may not be ready to trust him with her kids yet.
Yeah.
So there's a whole different process. But I think it kind of comes back to the earlier question that you asked me about how do we develop these relationships with the kids. One, we talked about a safe relationship with the mom. But I think the next, and being present, but the next one is you got to make excuses to be with the kids. Like, man, if you're going to get gas in the car, if you're running to the grocery store, grab a kid. That you should never be in the car running an errand that a kid's not with you.
People don't think of that. I like that. I take my son if I go to the store, I'm taking him with me. So I like that. Why do you say that though?
Because you need to create space in the relationship for it to breathe and for things to kind of come up, right? Think about the conversations like you get to have a song comes on the radio, you start singing along, that stupid song, oh, but when I was a kid, blah, blah. Like you get to share story, you get to share history of your life, right? They get another insight with you. They start to learn what you like. I like to, on my way out here, right? Tops pastrami sandwiches is out here. I like Tops because my dad used to take me as a kid to Tops, have pastrami sandwiches. So I like pastrami sandwiches, right? There are things that my kids like because when we were together, that's what we would do, right? Blizzards or, a certain kind of but all those things do is they create opportunities for conversations. Or think about like when you take your son or your daughter, like to Home Depot, what are we looking for? Well, I need to grab some fertilizer. Well, you take a few seconds to like explain what the fertilizer does, right? Why it's this particular kind of fertilizer. You don't realize it, but this goes specifically into the mission of being a dad.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the guys in the chat can kind of write this
We got people in the chat
out. Yeah. In fact, Eric, thanks, bro. For
Eric
the
is a
comment.
regular. Okay, so hold on. Let me go. Oh, so Devin.
That's
Hermat?
my guy.
Oh, it's your boy.
Yeah, from Camp Agape.
Fired up.
Fired up.
Dad Academy. Oh, Devin. Oh, what's up?
Yeah.
It's really blessed. Okay, cool. I'm glad to hear from you, man. And then Eric Burnt is a regular. He just watches the show all the
Dope,
time.
man. Dope.
This is what the world needs. Yep. Jennifer. Oh, she goes to my church.
Right on.
Jen. I sneak out of the house to shop in peace. Well, shout out to Jen.
Well,
how you doing?
Well, sometimes you got to do that. But this is what I was going to say. A dad's mission is to pass on his values and his skills to his children. So, like, just teaching your kid about, hey, man, I got to go and I got to buy this new drill bit. Well, what do you need a drill bit for? Oh, when we get home, let me show you how to use the,
Yeah.
like, whatever you know how to do is because usually somebody taught you how to do it. And if we want kids to be able to courageously attack life, we need to give them the skills to be able to do that. Not just learning how to drive a car. I mean, think about this. The first skill that somebody has to learn, has to be taught how to do, is to go to the bathroom. Could you imagine, like, some kid, 16 years old, still pooping in his diapers,
Yeah.
right? Like, we want to make sure that gets taken of way earlier in life, right?
Yeah.
Everything you know how to do, somebody has taught you. So dads need to be intentional to pass along, to take every opportunity to share knowledge and wisdom with his kids, so that when they want to apply courage, they also understand that they have the skill set or a knowledge base from which to be able to grow. And if whatever you don't know how to do, you need to have somebody else in your life that's close, trusted friend who can show them how to do some
Yeah.
of those things, right? I'm not a car mechanic. So when my son turned 16, I brought a mechanic friend over to his house, opened up his little Ford Ranger, and the guy showed him how to change his oil, how to check his fluids, how to, check the tires, showed him basic car mechanic. Like, but I had a responsibility to make sure that he had that information. And if I couldn't do it, somebody else needed to be able to do it. When my daughter's in college, I pass on how to do research, right? So whatever a dad knows, if you know how to make scrambled eggs, do your kids know how to make scrambled eggs? If you know how to make pancakes, do they know how to make pancakes? So passing on intentional, and I think that's why the plan is so important. So when you start throwing kids in the car with you and you're running an errand, you're going to the hardware store, right? There's an opportunity there. Why are we getting this 1/2-inch PVC pipe? Well, you get to kind of explain why we're doing that. We're we're running down here to go to, cars and coffee, right? Oh, Dad, what kind of car do you like? Well, what kind of car do you like? You know that this particular car has this particular kind of engine, or look at the way that this is painted. This paint has like 5 different layers. Like, there's so many things that we know that we just don't think about, like, teaching them. And yet coaching is all about that. Coaching is all about, like, a football lineman, making sure your hand placement is in the right spot, making sure that you have a base. Baseball, I coach baseball, making sure that your hands stay in. Like, there's so many little details that we focus on in these other things, and yet we don't take the time to teach our kids or to give them that kind of base. But that kind of thing, teaching them, giving them the skills that they need to be able to go to life, right? If they're courageous and they're capable, right? They've learned some stuff. And if they've learned one thing, then they can probably take that learning and apply it to something else, right? Then they can start to be confident and have an understanding of who they are.
What's one thing that you have learned from your children?
I don't know that I have learned this from them, in the fact, like, they taught it to me from modeling it, but it is something that that I've come to really realize as my kids became adults, that I'm really not a very humble or kind person.
Is that a bad or good thing? What do you think?
For me, it's a bad thing,
Okay.
because those are qualities that I want to be exhibited in their lives.
Do you feel like, though, that sometimes you have to be, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I think as a dad, maybe you might understand what I'm saying, is you have to be this person to make sure your kids are raised right?
Well,
In a sense, like,
but so I was a youth pastor, and have you ever tried to, like, wrangle like 200 teenagers?
No, not
right?
me.
Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy, right? And so you develop these skills like a coach or like a cop, right? I got this big voice, right? And I can be like, "Hey,
You look like
Right?
a cop now. Thinking about it, you could have passed for one.
Cop or fashion model usually is what. Yeah.
I like that.
Okay.
It's the hair.
I have
It's
this.
definitely the hair.
It is the hair, man. Well, you got it. You got to work it, man. Right. So the taller the hair goes, the thinner I look. Right. The more vertical.
Yeah.
So, so I had this big commanding, like I knew how to command attention.
Yeah.
Well, when I've got this little 3-year-old, right now, that 3-year-old, he would be doing something and he's not paying attention to dad. I'd be like, Justin, hey, look over here. Well, I didn't know the kind of kid he was yet. But man, this kid was a kind-hearted kid. He doesn't like conflict. He doesn't respond to that particular kind of approach to leadership. And there are times, even through high school, when I would change my tone to make sure I was getting my point across. And I would see that 3-year-old come back like he would shrink. I don't want my son as a man to shrink. I want him to what? Get big, right? But I didn't always do that well. And so when I talk about being kind,
when did you realize though that? When did you realize? Because I feel like a lot of parents.
COVID.
Okay, so what was the?
Well, there was a story. It's in the book. It was my daughter was home right from college and going through the thing that she had just went through with the surgery and brain tumor, and so the three of us are locked in this house. I personally loved it. I get to have my wife, my daughter, my favorite people with me all the time. But I was working on my computer and I had the TV on. I can multitask like that, and and I can still listen into conversations.
Yeah.
And I heard my wife and my daughter in the kitchen, and they're talking about something about what they're going to make for dinner. And my daughter said, hey, Mom, let's make some broccoli. And my wife Jamie said, your dad doesn't like broccoli. And I kind of snickered, right? Because that's the joke in our family. Because the one thing that's true, I don't eat broccoli, right? When you become an adult, that's a good thing, right? You get to choose what you eat and what you don't. So I kind of snickered at it, and no big deal.
They didn't know you were listening.
No.
Okay.
Right. The next day, same kind of scenario. I don't know if I'm piddling in the garage or probably on the computer again, doing something. And I heard Jamie and Jordan talking. I don't know what they were talking about, but I heard this sentence. My daughter say, "Yeah, but that's not Dad's kind of thing." I was like, kind of wonder what they're talking about. And then the next day, 3 days in a row, again, they're having some kind of conversation. I'm not really listening to them, but I'm hearing it in the background. I'm doing something else. And I heard him say, my daughter asked my wife a question, and my wife said, yeah, your dad's not going to like that. And immediately in my heart, I heard these words, Dad wins. And what that meant to me in that moment, and I started to weep a little bit, because if a dad's job is to pass on his values and his skills to his kids, the value that I had programmed, one of the values I programmed into my family, is that they have to organize their lives around what I like and what I don't like. And like I've always said that a man's job, in the scripture, Jesus makes this powerful statement, I didn't come to be served, he said, but to serve and to give my life. And that's a very countercultural idea, right? Because when you become a man, like you want to become higher up so that people serve you.
Yeah.
But the problem with being a dad is that really the more influence you have is by going lower, by serving more.
Yeah.
Right? And I realized that I had not been serving, I had been winning. Everybody knew, built their life around me. I could leave cups all over the house. I could leave my shoes wherever I wanted them to do, no matter how many times my wife asked me. And it applied in so many different areas of my life. And I made a resolution in 2020 that I didn't want to be dad win. I want everybody else in my family to win, even if it costs me. Because I'm never going to lose if they win. I will never lose if they win. But it's easier said than done because our values are based in our behavior. What you believe is what you behave. And like that's why dads, it's important to be present. If you come home and the kids want some of your attention, you're like, no, then you're telling them that dad's most important. Dad's more important than what they need.
Say that again. Can you say that out loud? Like say that because I feel like people need to hear that. We talk about this kind of stuff all the time on the podcast. What you just said is huge. Dude.
Well, it's the reality, right? Most people, when we talk about the things that you value, I call them aspirational values, right? They're things that we want to be, the best of us.
Mm-hmm.
But really your values are based in your behavior. You can see what you can see what's important to somebody by in fact, there's an old statement that says, you want to see what is important to somebody, look at their calendar and look at their checkbook. That will tell you what their values are. And so, whoa. I love the sound effects.
That was huge.
That was a bomb drop right there. I hear you.
It was.
So as a dad, if your job is to pass on your values, you got to be ruthless about what your values are, right? And so, in fact, let me circle this all the way back to our initial conversation about discipline, right? Remember I said that we don't only want to confront things, but we want to complement things, right? So because character was such an important value in our life, we wanted to be people of character. Then the things that we confronted, the things that we disciplined in our family's life, in our kids' life, was we confronted dishonesty, right? If you're just not being truthful, we disciplined when it came to deceit. If you're just going to flat out lie, bro, that's the biggest violation of a relationship.
Yeah.
And we disciplined dishonor, disrespect, right? Because people are worthy of respect.
Yeah.
A lie is the worst thing you can do in a relationship. Dishonesty means that I'm not willing to embrace my consequences. So those three things are based in values, right? But the things we complemented, right? We want whenever we saw gratitude or thankfulness, we made a big deal about that because we want to have in our family culture for us to be people who are grateful, who are not entitled, right? So we want that behavior repeated. So when they demonstrated it, we made a big deal about it. We loyalty. Man, you stick by people. You stick with people. It's not just because that's what Christians do. Like that's what just good people do. The best of who God has designed us to be is committed to the relationship over a long time. You're going to tell me that Jesus hasn't been loyal to you or me through all of our foolishness, right? So
we're the ones that's disloyal, if anything.
Bro.
Yeah.
So we complimented like loyalty and we complimented service. Whenever you did something for someone else, whenever you put them before yourself, whenever you fulfilled your responsibilities, whenever you then we made a big deal about those things because that's what we wanted repeated.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I feel like dads need to know this. So that change is not going to be easy change to transition. Number one, what was the steps you made to transition to that point where you're okay? Because when you were listening to that, your children talk about you like, hey, dad's not going to go for that, you know? And you had to transition into who you are now to listen to them and kind of understand everything. How hard and what steps did you make to that transition?
Well, that's the best part about kids is kids are resilient, right? I talk a good game now because, I made the joke that they became functional adults with a minimal of therapy, right? Because there's never anything that as a mom and her dad that you're going to be able to do perfect. But your kids aren't looking for perfection.
I love this.
Right?
Yeah.
Your kids are looking for you to be present, for you to be authentic.
That's all they want.
Right? You need to be able to, like, every kid needs to, like in the book, remember we talked about courage being living
Mhm.
from the heart. Courageous people say thank you. And courageous people say, you're welcome. Courageous people say, I'm sorry. Courageous people say, I forgive you. In fact, we were very specific about those words because um, you can't, when somebody says that they're sorry, you can't just brush it off with, no, 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 it's okay. Well, if it was okay, they wouldn't have needed to say anything about it,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So forgive you means, okay, then I'm letting this go. I'm not going to hold this against you. So now the slate is wiped clean. And courageous people say, I love you, because that's always a risk. So there were some things that we did well as kids. There were things that I wish I'd had Dad Academy, because looking back, there are a lot of things that I wish that I could have done differently, that I just didn't have a coach or a guide. And I even had a benefit of having a great dad around. And I still made mistakes. Thankfully, my kids have been able to not be hindered in their life by the mistakes that Jamie and I may have made as parents, because the good eventually outweighs the bad. But we were always real, and we always let our actions not be conflicting. So for instance, how many people you know that say like God is number one, right? God's the most important thing in our lives and stuff like this, right? Well, if that's true, then why on Sunday mornings when the people of God gather together, your church is at the soccer field? What does that tell your kids?
Yeah.
It says that God's not number one. God has a place when it's convenient in my life. I'm not against club sports. I'm a coach. They're powerful opportunities to be able, as a parent, if you want God to be a value in your family, then you have to make him a priority in your calendar and in your behavior, right? Find a church that has a Saturday night service, or at least just tell your kid's coach, hey, we're in, but you just need to know we're not coming to anything before noon on Sunday. Because the most important thing is for us to worship as a family. And so these are kind of the values. If let me see your book there, Jacob.
We have some people in the chat too. So
Yep.
Eric Burnt, he's giving us the cry emoji. He's liking this one. Eric Burnt. Where do I get the book? Where does Amazon, right?
Yeah. Hey, let's do this.
Okay, go.
There's I'll put it on the website if and make sure that we put this in the notes. But if people will go visit dadacademy.info.
You guys hear this right here? Say that again
Yep,
one more time.
dadacademy.info.
Okay.
And on the website, there is a place where you can download this little sheet that's called The 3 Responsibilities of a Father. And it's just a helpful little thing to kind of get our head wrapped around what a dad really is supposed to do. It's a little checklist. And with that email, right, I'll just know if they do it this week. Especially if they do it tonight or tomorrow, they'll get the newsletter, the Dad Academy newsletter on Thursday. Okay. And I'll do this. It's like $18 on Amazon. We'll sell you a book for $15 or 2 for $25. Maybe you and a brother or a neighbor want to kind of go through this together, because the reason, Dad Academy is essentially, though, a master class. It really was a video that guys would watch together and talk about together. I never wanted to do a book because the book, guys just read it, right? Oh, that's so good.
People in the chat are loving it though. So I'm just letting you know. They love what you're doing in here. People were even like, how old are your kids? Mom and dad can make mistakes. People are going crazy on this.
I mean, there's homework after every chapter.
I like that. That's cool.
Right? You got to work.
Yeah.
And there's actually at the end, the last chapter is actually called The Dad Plan. I'll show it up there on the camera. And it actually you actually write a business plan for being a dad. We help you discover your values. We help you walk through all of the issues. So you actually walk away. But really what needs to happen? Jacob, if you were to tell me, like, Jeff, really what's the heart behind this?
I was getting to that, but you already said it. So go ahead. Yeah, let's do that.
Like, men, we there's a famous quote by an American poet that says that men lead lives of quiet desperation,
I've heard that.
right? That like we want to be good, we want to do better, and we're just not sure. And because there are things that are hard in our lives, and men, we gravitate towards wherever we're rewarded or affirmed, right? That it's hard to prioritize it or know what's really, really important. And guys, when they start feeling pressure, instead of pressing in for help, what do? We withdraw, isolate. The hardest thing you'll ever do, but the most rewarding thing you'll ever do is be a dad. And to share that journey and to learn from other guys is so important. In fact, kind of when we do Dad Academy groups, the secret sauce is grandpas. Because now they don't have to worry about paying rent or the electric bill, right? Providing groceries. Now they have a whole strategy of like, man, I may not have done these things great when I was a dad, but now I can rethink and invest as a grandpa. But you get a grandpa in line with a guy who's a brand new dad of a 2-year-old and trying to figure out stuff, and the relationship that they're able to build. Because the one thing that we're never going to be able to solve, we'll never be able to solve, is fatherlessness. The book of James in the New Testament, it's like the third book from the end, is actually the brother of Jesus who wrote this epistle. And he says this: the true religion is caring for the orphans and the widows and keeping oneself unpolluted from the world. Now, orphans and widows, what's missing from those two situations? Dads. Orphan has no dad. Widow has no husband, no covering. So what we're really going to need today is we need men who are not only good dads in their own homes, but are willing to step in the gap as mentors and coaches and cheerleaders for other kids in the community, in the neighborhood, that need that kind of influence and affirmation. Because you can raise courageous, capable, confident kids that are not yours. That's why I coach. Is because next to dad, coach is one of the most important persons, at least in a young man's life, right? And I want him to know that he's always got somebody cheering him on, believing in him, right? Wasn't that the powerful story of what we start to see happening in Camp Agape, is the change that starts to happen in the community of support? Yeah. Well, we need to have dads in that. Man, for me, the dream would be that you do this with a group of guys at your church. And after that, maybe you coach basketball, City League basketball for your 10-year-old. And while you're doing that, you get the other guys together and say, hey, guys, during the season, I got this friend who wrote a book. What about if we just met up, like before, after practice, read a chapter of the book together and talked about it? Now we start seeing a ripple effect all the way through our communities. And we can start to reverse the curse of fatherlessness when we start to take fathering seriously. So what's going on? Amazing pod, bro. Lemony Fresh News. Let's go.
He's a regular too.
Yeah, dadacademy.info. If you want to follow our socials, Instagram, dad.academy. Dad.academy on Instagram.
The Lemony Fresh's amazing pod. Make sure to like and subscribe.
TikTok is TikTok. We're just Dad Academy. Same with Facebook. Our YouTube channel, which we're going to start. Actually, you're part of this inspiration for it. We're going to start doing a weekly live for Dad Academy.
You should. You know what's
that's
crazy?
Why I got that's why we got the studio set up at the church.
I think we've talked about, I swear to you, man, we've been doing this for 2.5 years, and we've always talked about fathers. So I think my generation, a lot of our fathers were either on drugs or they were absent. So a lot of my friends are really good dads. They're like, I have friends that are completely like gangster, like grew up in the hood, have guns, sold drugs, but when it comes to their kids, they are like a great father to them. It's all about their kids.
So okay, so is everything being about your kids being a great father?
No,
Right.
we know that,
Right.
and I can say that no on their part too,
Right.
because I believe the best thing to do for your child is teach them about Jesus Christ. That's the best thing you can do.
It's not. The best thing you can do is to live as best you can like Jesus for them.
That is
Right.
because you can show
that's a whole nother level, right?
Yes,
Because I
just
can
destroyed me right
bro,
now.
look,
They heard the.
I did. But look,
You're
I'm
right.
I'm
though.
a former college athlete. I guarantee there are very few people who know more about nutrition and working out than I do. But look at me. You're going to come to me as a personal trainer? Why? Because you see I'm not putting it into practice. Knowledge is one thing, right? Being able to live a intentional life is much harder,
Yeah,
right? And so I know a lot of dads who know a lot about
yeah, me too.
church and stuff like this, right? But bro, you got to do the work,
Yeah,
right? The best thing we said that what's even higher than being a dad and loving the kid's mom is modeling for how you love Jesus. In fact, if you take your kids to church, I want to make this challenge to any dad out here who takes his kids to church once a month. Don't put them in kids ministry. Don't put them in the children's church.
let them come with you to
Make them come with you,
Yeah.
because what they learn there, like my kids used to see me at home watching the same sports center 3 times in a row. That's what they saw from me at home, right? They're always watching. Well, when do they ever get to, one of the secrets is when they were little, I always tried to be reading my Bible when they got up because I wanted them to have that memory that was important to Dad. It was one of the first things that he did. You know, at church, they get to see how I respond in my relationship to God. They get to see if I'm aware and thoughtful of the people around me. They get to see me open my Bible, right? Like for all y'all that go to church with only this, I just want to encourage you, like, it's not a lecture. As a coach, I say this all the time, like to my kids, I'm like, where are your shoes at? And they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, you'd never come to baseball practice or to basketball practice without your shoes. Church is practice. Church is not a show.
Yeah.
Church is where you learn the skills to be able to get into the game of life the minute that you walk out the door, right? So you got to have a weekly hour of practice. And bringing your Bible, I always call your Bible your shoes, because you would never go to anything else. Imagine being a mechanic and not bringing your tools.
Yeah, you're done.
You're done, right?
You're done.
So them getting to see you open the Bible and see where you maybe have something underlined or you've written something down, they start to learn because they're watching you.
I love all of that. Yeah, that's what you're saying. I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
So, bro, this is so dope. And you know, we talk about Howls over Baaz, right? And I love the concept, right? I'm a dude's dude, right? I want to be, I want to run in the pack. In fact, I don't know if you can see this, but you will love this as dope. Our little seal down there at the bottom, right? One of our side logos for Dad Academy
Oh yeah, I see it.
is that it's a wolf.
Yeah.
It's a wolf because wolves, while they have an alpha, dads are more involved with the raising of the cubs than the moms are.
Yeah.
And so I love the idea of Howls, but man, I also know that what we're doing is when the scripture calls children lambs.
Yeah. And my brother always makes fun of me for that part.
That's okay.
He goes, hey, we're God's sheep, you know.
Right, and we're shepherds.
Yeah.
Like here's an interesting idea, is that, you know, the word pastor comes from the Latin word pasture, which is the Latin term for shepherd.
Yeah.
But the Old English term for that is the art of husbandry. Husbandry is the care for livestock or the caretaker of a ranch or of the farm. And so if you're a husband, you're a pastor.
Mm.
If you're a dad, you're a pastor.
I've heard that before. actually.
right? And
When I
so
was a kid, actually.
so all this kind of stuff is cool. Well, if your audience is so hype on dad stuff, I mean,
I
I'll be
talk about
back.
this a lot.
I'll be back anytime,
do that,
anytime
man.
that you want. We have a quarter,
Yeah,
once a quarter with dad,
we
once a
need
month
to.
with dad.
No, we really need to.
Because then we can go full live, right? And just take questions
To
and
me,
process.
and the people that actually come on my pod, to me, this is the most important thing, because fathers raise their children differently, I feel like, than mothers.
They do.
Because we have to discipline. Even when we're not in the way we're supposed to be, we still make sure that we discipline them the right way.
Well, there's a cool study that just came out that says that one of the differences between moms and dads, is that moms see their children for who they are, and dads see their children of who they can be.
Mhm.
And those two things are responsible, right?
Yeah.
It goes back to the things that moms do, right? The things that different parents do.
Yeah.
Moms, compassion, cooperation, comfort. Dads, courage, competence, having skills, and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that kids have confidence is when they know who they are,
Yeah.
when they know that they're loved. And when that begins
Completely.
to happen, we start to see and literally change the cycle, break the curse. And bro, again, I'm gonna just throw it out there again, dadacademy.info. If you'll look up Jeff Hamilton Dad Academy, I mean, since we released the book in June, I've had to do like all kinds of podcasts and stuff like this. But this is my favorite because I'm doing it with a homie, right? Like,
And I love
I'm
it.
doing
man.
it with with fam. And so, I'll give a shout out.
A lot of people are going to see this, man. I'm telling you right now. The Inland Empire, we're the biggest podcast in the Inland Empire right now.
I know.
So
it's
people
dope.
are seeing this right now, and the floor, because we're like, oh, then we went over anyway, but it don't matter. So the floor is yours. Whatever you want to say, inspirational words, anything about Dad Academy, whatever you want to say, the floor is yours right now.
All right. Well, I'm going to give a commercial first. Go follow Jordan Hamilton on Spotify. JORDANNE. She just released. My daughter just released her newest single called Walls. Dope. Neo soul white girl. It's
I'm about to listen to that.
bro. It's
Yes, sir.
I got it queued up already. I've already played it once since I've been in the studio. So check her out on Spotify or iTunes. Jordan JORDANNE.
We have to get her in too. We even have
next
her
time
sing
she's
some-
home.
yeah.
Next time she's home, she would love it, bro.
Yeah, we got to get her in for sure.
And then and if we do this again, right now, you can. My son's here. Right, so he can come in and be like, no, my dad's all BS, man. He doesn't even know. No, hey, listen,
Which you guys are coming together for sure. That'd be
bro,
good.
that would be fun.
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
it? Listen, since you gave me that moment, let me just say this, Dad. You can be the dad you want to be, but it doesn't happen by accident. You can do. Most dads are just reactive to the situations that they face in their life. Right? And they're hoping to do their best. Sometimes when we're at our best, we're responsive. Like we can get a little ahead of the game, right? But man, I want you to be confident and understand, like, this is a huge privilege that God has decided that you were the best person that he could use to cultivate his likeness in these people that he's entrusted to your care. That is the most unbelievable responsibility and privilege that he's invited you to partner with him in this. And so there's a lot of things down that we will chase in life, right? Guys, we chase affirmation, man. Look at my new rims that I just got on my lifted truck. Look at my new boat. Look at my new paycheck from my job, right? We'll go after wherever we're affirmed. But the greatest affirmation that ever happens is one day when you start to be able to reap the harvest of friendship of what you've sown into the life of your kids, and to seeing them become who God's made them to be. Because you got a 4-year-old out there, you got a 10-year-old out there, you got a 14-year-old out there. I would change places with you any second right now, because those are the best days of your life. There's a saying in parenting: the days are long, but the years are short. You want to hear something scary? there's 936 weeks between the day that your kids are born and the day that they turn 18. That's how many weeks you have with your kids. For the rest of your life as their father, you will only have 52 more weeks with them combined over the rest of your life. So these days, God gives us a lot of days together because they can make up for mistakes and we can take advantage of more moments. But you have to have a plan. You have to be able to know who you are as a man, as a husband, who God's asked you to be. And Dad Academy will help you walk through that process. And more importantly, so will the group of men that you decide to engage in this process. A powerful movie that was out not too long ago. It was called The Council. I think it's called The Council of Elders. And a dad who was dying of cancer went to his 5 best friends and asked them each to take a role in raising his children for them.
Wow.
Like the role of having that kind of leader. If you haven't, I don't make a lot of movie plugs, but man, if you're a guy, find a movie called The Forge. The Forge, Forge. It was made by the Kendrick brothers, and it's about how important the lives of mentoring and how they shape young people's lives. We need to have more and better dads if we're ever going to see the tide begin to shift in our communities, in our culture.
Yeah, I believe that completely.
Let's go.
And I appreciate you, man, coming
Bro,
on. I
this is
really
sick,
do.
man.
You killed it right now. Our slogan is "Shed the Sheep." Like, you know,
I got you.
Get it.
We're
I don't have to
good.
say it.
I'm down.
so on 3, we're gonna say "Shed the Sheep" on camera. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Shed the sheep. Howls over Baaz. I'm Jacob Casas.
Jeff Hamilton with Dad Academy.
And we appreciate you guys watching. Please like and subscribe. We actually appreciate all you guys in the chat. And he will be back. We're out. Peace.